Hello, once again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of AIW's The Card is Going to Change. And before we get into this week's episode, of course, we want to give a wonderful plug to everybody who's helped us bring the show to you for free on whichever platform that you choose to listen over the course of the years. People we love continuously giving plugs to. Thanks to Smart, I don't want to start off with that. That's the end one. John Thorne almost blew it already. Thanks to Smokin' Jay's Barbecue.
You can switch it up, remix.
That was terrible.
You need one of those horns, you know what I mean?
A DJ Z horn?
You know?
Yeah. It's been a long time since we've heard the DJ Z horn. I kind of miss it now that you said that. Yeah, we'll go with it. Smart Mark Video and IWTV. Thanks to the merger of the two, watching AIW has never been easier, including streaming it this weekend. You can go to smartmarkvideo.com and purchase physical media, get DVDs. You can also download MP4s and own them that way. Or you can go to independentwrestling.tv and sign up using the code ABSOLUTE so they know that we sent you for $9.99 a month. Yeah, under $10 a month, you can watch not only countless hours of AIW, but also countless hours of all sorts of other independent wrestling promotions, and you get the streams included in that $9.99. So it's a live streaming show like we've got coming up this Friday. Boom.
I want to talk to you motherfuckers about the streaming numbers. You guys need to start streaming these fucking shows, or I'm gonna stop streaming. Now it's to the point where I want to stop streaming them. I don't even care if they don't give us a live stream slot anymore, because nobody's fucking watching them. So stream this. You better stream on Friday. That's all I'm saying.
There you go.
Because I'm getting, I've actually been considering just not even recording the shows anymore, and you just got to live them and experience them and replay the memories in your brain. That is a business plan that I'm going over right now. But for now, get us on IWTV while you can, until I make a fucking real rash decision pretty soon.
You just had to have been there, is what it's going to come down to. And that will be the end of it. Hey, thanks to, like I said, Smokin' Jay's Barbecue, said that earlier. Thanks to Thrift Store Jobber, to Sean Jaundice over at Voodoo Monkey Tattoo, inking everybody up. And who am I missing? Pollyanna DIY. And I feel like it's covered. Did I hit everybody? I hit them.
I don't know. Nobody gives us any money anymore anyway for this, so I don't even know why you go through it all.
I don't know. Big shout out to Dive Bar. They do give us money.
They give us money.
They give us money. We are headed back there.
They should be the only. They should be the only ad next week. Dive Bar. The only fucking place giving us money. I'm fucking wound up this week.
Also, what's the people who bring the toys?
Kayfabe Collectibles.
Kayfabe Collectibles. There it was.
They bring memorabilia. They don't bring toys. They bring memorabilia. They have everything. It's not a toy stand. You're thinking of time capsule toys and Toy Hio.
There you go.
Steve, I'm gonna send you for a Psycho.
There's so many.
Fried lately.
There's so many things to. I don't have these notes in front of me, folks. Try to remember all this off the top of my head. Yes, Kayfabe Collectibles.
Notes. We don't have notes. We're just calling it out there.
That's what I'm saying. I don't have notes, so I don't remember this shit.
It's a freestyle.
Kayfabe Collectibles and time capsule toys and Toy High. It's a lot of shit to try to keep straight. But
you think I got notes? I just said that I'm considering just stopping recording my shows. I don't got notes. Just talking.
Well,
living in the moment.
Obviously, AIW owner John Thorne is here. My name's Steve Guy, your moderator of sorts on this show. And John Thorne, this is a hard sell week. And finally, I feel like we are back.
We got to hard sell it.
I feel like we're back to a little bit of normalcy, because here you are with the world. The world is ending.
We had a good week 2 weeks ago. Now it's all fucking over.
No, yeah. And now you're like, we're done. That's it. And here we are. Look, months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, people were like, when are you going to bring Anthony Green? When are you going to bring a guy like Alex Zane? We're bringing them. They're going to be here this week, folks.
Yeah, you know what I'm doing right now as we record this? I'm processing a refund for Friday. That's what I'm doing right now. I don't know what's going on.
When is Gringo Loco going to be back? Oh, he'll be here this Friday.
With a fucking
Matt Cross too.
With the Gringo Loco. I got a little bone to pick with Gringo Loco. And the most fucking carny of carny schemy moves. I booked him. We're all good. I announced the match. And then he goes, you got me a flight, right? I need a flight now. What? It's all going down the tubes this Friday. Just come watch my demise.
I don't even know that we have any shout-outs this week. I mean, well, you know what? Shout-out to AEW on a pretty solid pay-per-view there. More than pretty solid. All out. Shout-out to AEW alum Eddie Kingston with a good match. Britt Baker with an awesome match. AEW alum Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole popping up.
AEW alum Ruby Riott. A lot of alums popping
Ruby
up.
Riott, Ruby Soho, I should say, popping up on there. Shout out to all of them. Yeah.
Sure they're big
cool
listeners of the podcast, by the way.
Yeah, huge listeners of the pod. Is anybody listening to this pod when we give them the shout outs? Probably not. Nobody we shout out listens to this, except the photographers. All the photographers were very excited that we gave them a shout out last week.
Except for Ed Bates, who I did not shout out in a very nice manner.
We did, what are we calling that? What do we call the negative shout out? A non shout out? Is that what you said it was last week?
Non shout
out. Non shout out. So Ed Bat's got that. That's it. That's the shout out portion of the show, folks. Because you're not buying the streams. You're not buying enough tickets. We want to give you shout outs, but what can we do? I'm going to shout out the Cleveland Browns. How about that? They open up the football season this week, and my
Bernie
boy
Kosar.
Nick Chubb is sponsored by
Webster
Chipotle.
Slaughter. Webster Slaughter.
Shout out to Webster Slaughter.
Leroy Horde.
I got a Leroy Horde jersey, dude.
Leroy Horde. Hell yeah.
Shout out Andre Rison.
Michael Dean Perry.
MDP. Shout out Michael Jackson. Who else you got? Clay Matthews.
What's his name? Mac. Fucking
Kevin Mack.
Kevin Mack. Yeah, there you go.
Hanford Dixon. Top dog.
Ernest Biner.
Eric Metcalf.
Oh, Eric Metcalf. That's a good one.
You like that one?
Yeah. That's
he was sweet, dude. All those returns. Tom Tupa, baby.
Oh, Tom Tupa, Brecksville, Broadview Heights alum.
Yeah.
He was the claim to fame in the city of Brecksville. I think he works for the rec center there now or something.
Tommy Vardell. He was sweet. I can go on now with Browns players. We're done with that. Big deal for them. Anyway, yeah, we got a show coming up, in case you didn't notice, and there's a lot going on. And, John Tor, we've talked about this. Here, we are really going to get to the heart of the matter on this, because I am coming prepared with some questions, because I've been doing some thinking over the last couple of days. With everything that's going on, I mentioned AEW's All Out, and it felt like the landscape of pro wrestling, at least at the top tier, has now somewhat shifted, or is at the very least strongly shifting. Like that can't be denied anymore. Do you, as you step back and you look at this, if you compare the indies, do you almost feel like it's even more difficult for indies? Like, because I guess so I look at WWE and I look at AEW, and they've got two completely different rosters, right? So you can compete against one another. You can push each other. People can watch both. Is that almost, dare I say, easier to be able to, I guess, survive, even though it's expensive, but rather than an independent show where, we're up against 7 streams this week. And
I don't know if it's 7, but there's a lot of streams going.
Yeah, but you also have, you also have the talent pool that you're working with can be seen on a variety of other shows. So, whereas you watch WWE and AEW, you can watch two completely different things. Does it become frustrating? Like, do you feel like independent wrestling is almost somewhat watered down at this point because there are so many people that are popping up on every single show?
Well, I don't want to say it's watered down. I just think that the expectations have changed and there is so much free content available. You know, if you really want to look at it just between WWE and AEW, you know, you have Raw, you have SmackDown, you have NXT, you have Dynamite, you have Rampage, you have Dark Elevation. I'm sure WWE has, you know, they have 205, they have main event, they have documentaries, they have, you know what I mean? We're just talking these two companies on top of monthly pay-per-views from WWE that are basically free if you have Peacock. There's a lot of content to be consumed, and there's a lot of hours. You know what I mean? It's not like a half hour. You know, we're talking hours of content to be consumed. Like some of those darks, I don't know who watches that, because like some of them are like 4-hour streams. You know, like on a Monday or a Tuesday night, like so, you know, like 15 match cards. You know, like there's just so much content out there. And a lot of it, you know, at a pretty high level to where, you know, the indies, and I said this when, you know, AEW first came around on this podcast, and, you know, when people get released now, it's not like, oh, okay, they're going to go around the loop on the indies anymore. It's like, you're talking big money. You know, you're talking real sports free agency. There's multiple bidders, you know, like, and I'll use this as an example. It's like, and maybe he does do it, but, you know, for the people that are like, oh man, Bryan Danielson can go back to PWG now. Maybe he does it, but if you think Bryan Danielson isn't making a shit ton of money to wrestle in AEW, you are dead wrong. You know what I mean? Like he can wrestle some of the best talent on television in that company. You know, he doesn't have to go to PWG to wrestle. You know, like he can do it on a big major stage for a shit ton of money. And listen, he may go do PWG. I'm not saying he's not going to do PWG, but I'm just saying the expectation when these people leave WWE and they're like, oh man, just think of all the indies that they will do. I think if they're doing an indie, it is an afterthought. You know what I mean? Like you don't even see like people like MJF really doing indies anymore. You know what I mean? Like, or Brit, or like we're not talking about minuscule amounts of money that they're being paid. And independents can't really compete with that unless you have some sort of prior relationship with them. You know, and even I am weird about even even crossing that bridge. You know, like, hey, come do me a favor. You know, and like it's just, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like Kingston did it for the comeback show.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, they don't have to do it. They're making a salary, you know, like they don't have to pick up independence. There's a lot of different rules that come with people in AEW doing independence. But I think, you know, we have to focus on making new guys instead of hoping for guys to come back to the indies. You know, which is what we've been trying to do and focus on, but it's just like at the same time, you know, it is somewhat to our detriment, I think, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Friday is okay. You know, we've been trying experiments since we've come back, right? You know, we did the surprise show, very hot crowd. Only like 100 tickets. It was, you know, those two back-to-back shows, you know, it was good. And then, you know, we move on and we bring in, you know, the major podcast guys and still limiting tickets, you know, focusing on them as an attraction and helping kind of build our young homegrown people. Mm-hmm. Then we go to the Biggins tournament weekend and the Nightmare on Elm Street show, not, you know what I mean? Not great. Not streamed great. We sold our, whatever our limited capacity was, barely, I think, for the Biggins Cup show. And, the streaming numbers, not great. Go for Broke streaming numbers, not great. So then pivot, bring in Danhausen and then Terry Runnels, thinking that is going to, be kind of the best of both worlds. We sell the tickets. However, it's, I'm trying to think how to word this. We sold the tickets, but it was still a limited capacity of tickets, and we barely got there. You know what I mean? So
sure.
At that point, it's like, okay, say we remove Danhausen from this equation, or we remove Terry Runnels from this equation. Where are we at, right?
Sure.
So now for Friday, I decide to go, to try a new experiment. Okay, I try to book Sonny to draw, and I know it comes with controversy and all that other stuff. That wasn't to sell you a ticket. That was tried to find a guy that used to like wrestling, and wants to come get his picture with her. Yeah. Try to get a different fan to walk through the door and buy a ticket. Right. Because our existing fan base has not totally come back since COVID. That is apparent by all of these numbers these last few months. When we're selling 400 or 500 tickets, and now we're barely getting to 175, barely. Yeah. That is there's a lot of people missing. So you have to experiment and try to find new people if those old people aren't coming back. So Sonny is an experiment. I understand it's controversial to some people. I'm trying to draw people that don't come anymore. You know what I mean? And then I'm trying to give, the people that do come what they want to see at the same time. I'm trying to do two completely different things here. Right. Then I go outside the box. Anthony Green recently released. Book him. Alex Zane recently released. Book him. Book Rhino. You know what I mean? I put together a really great card, in my opinion, in a diverse crowd. And listen, I understand the Sonny stuff. People, you expressed your dislike for the booking. I get it. It was not targeted for you. This is simply was a way to try to make money for the company from a new clientele. We have awful ticket sales for Friday. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's just because we ran shows 2 weeks ago. Maybe it's because AEW and all the shows around it this weekend in Chicago. I don't know. Maybe this is all a coincidence that everything has been bad and it's really just chalked up as it's the summer and people are doing other things besides going to wrestling. But me, sure, as a promoter, I have to experiment and try different things, and if you look at the lineups for all of these shows, they've all been somewhat different, and there's been a little twist on all of them. Friday is no different. I'm trying to hit multiple kind of, I guess, potential ticket buyers. I don't know. Well, it's just not clicking.
It's what your classic AIW card kind of is, right? You've got these names that people are familiar with, that they're independent, if they are familiar with independent wrestling. And you've got people that we're bringing up and bringing along. And a lot of them are matched up with these folks. And then you have, but you also have some marquee independent matchups Anthony Green and Lee Moriarty. Man, that's on paper, that's a hell of a matchup. And that's something that should have a lot of intrigue for people. So there's that. If you want to watch some high flying and just crazy acrobatics, you've got Chase Oliver, homegrown, Matt Cross, the consummate professional and veteran of 20 plus years, Alex Zane, and Gringo Loco. the base god. So you know that there's going to be some just wild shit happening within that. For the old school fanatics, you've got Rhino. Rhino's going to be here. Rhino and Kaplan, and that's just going to be a collision of beasts. You've got tag team action with 40 Acres, Pretty Boy Smooth, Charles and Navarro taking on To Infinity and Beyond. And again, that's going to be, that's going to be a really good, I guess, classic style professional wrestling match. Some tag team action. You got younger guys, members only, get to get their shot on an actual major AIW card, take it on 9 to 5. I mean, it just goes on. And then, again, indie darlings, Matt Justice and Mance Warner, they're both going to be there, each in singles competition. Justice versus Derek Dillinger, Mance versus Ethan Wright. And the styles are going to be great. I mean, that one of the intriguing ones to me is Mance versus Ethan Wright, because that is an old school Southern style or TBS, and old NWA matchup happening right there.
I think it's a very good mix of different things on the card. Just for whatever reason, tickets are slow. I mean, I think, we're at like under 100 tickets pre-sold, which has not happened in, I couldn't even tell you, how long that's been.
Yeah.
Because with COVID and everything else. So, I mean, obviously, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe it's, people mad about the Sunny thing. Maybe it's, people just spent their money elsewhere. Maybe it's people are burnt out from the back-to-back double shot weekend. There's a lot of what ifs and maybes. And, also I take a lot to blame because I got way too ambitious with the schedule. I think I'm starting to realize, and I got excited when, things opened up and I was like, book date. And maybe, I kind of put too much pressure on the loyal fan base, you know what I mean, to support all of these shows.
Sure.
So, I really don't know what it is. We still have a few days to go. I hope, Friday, this is all just kind of like, whatever. It was, kind of premature worrying, because we still do have a few days to go. But, I can tell you right now, like, say things continue through, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to shut down. Everyone's worried about shutdowns and everything else going on with what's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. But say we don't, right? And say we can continue. Like, I am planning a much more reduced schedule for 2022 as it stands right now. Just based on, the trends that, we've seen these, first few shows. Now, obviously, could we have maybe sold more than 100 tickets for the Major Brothers? Probably, but like it's like that weird like juggling, you know what I mean? Like trying to do things and open up the right way, trying to also make sure that the company is self-sustaining and bringing in enough money to support itself. You know what I mean? Like it's really been a hard balance. And obviously we went with more of the reduced ticketing and all that stuff. And, trying to stream everything as much as we can live. And I don't know if, at that point you're splitting the crowd, like, I don't know if some people are just staying home and not coming live. And then, the people that are coming live aren't watching. And then we're obviously not pulling big streaming numbers from outside of our regular fan base, I guess, and maybe that's because there's multiple streams going on. I don't really know. I don't know what the answer is. And people aren't really buying DVDs like they used to. And there's a lot of just things that are changing about the industry and, how people consume content. So, it's really been a learning curve, and I'm just trying to navigate it, as much as possible. And I know, sometimes people think I'm, kind of complainy and things like that, on this podcast. But hey, this podcast is my version of therapy. So, I get it out here. And, it's like we were talking at the top of the show. We don't come in with a format or notes or anything. We just kind of talk. So
yeah.
This is, at this moment in time, this is what I'm kind of feeling right now.
Let me ask you this: is a little bit of this? Do you feel, because we watched multiple other independents that we're familiar with? I can point Black Label Pro and GCW, and we know the guys there, and they had a great weekend. To kind of run alongside what was happening in the Chicago area in AEW. And as we talk about markets, right? Cleveland's a big sports city. For years and years, we talked about it's difficult to get certain free agents here for sports because it's not a big market. The fan base is it's hard for them to go to the baseball game. So that's why the baseball team doesn't spend any money, because nobody's there. Is that a reality that isn't just sports, like those big three sports, but it extends to this? Do you think that some of this is
I think like on a much different, I would think on a much different scale, I don't know if that's like the proper comparison, but Cleveland is a tough market for entertainment in general. It's always been a tough city. I've told every single promoter that's ever tried to run in Cleveland, like, it's not going to work, because what your expectation of what AIW does took years and years and years to do, and we still barely get by. Like, the added cost of coming here and, trying to run here is, people see, like, pictures from one of our shows, and multiple promoters are like, oh man, I should come, run Cleveland. And, I tell them, and some have come and tried, and like, it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. I don't know what it is other than, I don't know if it's because Cleveland is more working class. There's, a smaller population compared to, other big cities. Like, you can't compare Cleveland and Chicago. That's just like two completely different universes. You know what I mean? Like, it's different, like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know what the solution is. Obviously, there's more than, 100 wrestling fans within driving distance to Cleveland, Ohio. Like, I think that is an obvious statistic, but I don't know how we grow outside of what we're doing now, outside of touring, which I just don't think is realistic for us. Like, it's just not sustainable. If you want to see AEW, you have to come to Cleveland. Like, that's just the way I think it needs to be. I just don't think that we can go and tour and drop. Like, I have a job. I can't drop everything and go and, even like WrestleMania weekends, we did the one, and then we were gonna do Tampa, and then we ended up doing Indiana as a makeup. Like, even that was just like, that was hard to do. Like, it's hard to figure out how to do that when you're trying to juggle this and a job, and you know what I mean. And it's just like everyone wants to do the, like, oh man, like, bet on yourself, and go for it. But like, for every person that bets on themselves and makes it, like, there's a million that don't, like, I'm just not going to take that risk. I'm in a really good spot, in my real life as far as, a career and a job that I can't walk away from, and I can't drop everything to do AIW. So I really rely on Cleveland and, our fan base to, support this. And, like, maybe, sometimes I think maybe it's run its course, like, looking at these trends, like, it's tough. And, like you said, maybe it's because of AEW and WWE and all this other content that is out there, and it's just like, Chicago's like 5.5 hour drive. Maybe people went and spent hundreds of dollars there this last weekend, and now they don't have $25 to come to AIW Friday. Like, I get it, it's, you can't pass up the opportunity to see CM Punk's return, and all the other things that went on that pay-per-view. I just have to try to figure out how to make this what it was pre-COVID, because pre-COVID I thought that we were unstoppable. Now on the other side of COVID, everything seems so shaky, like even 2 weeks ago, we have, we do like the I think I rounded it up to 200 pre-sold for the Danhausen show, and Russell Rager was like, I would say probably close to 300, right? That was great. But, like, now we're on to the next one, and now it's like whatever, came out in the green on that weekend is going to be spent Friday. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's tough. It's a tough juggling act. And, you sometimes I just think, like, is anything going to get back to normal post-COVID?
Sure. Well, they say that no good deed goes unpunished. And in saying that, I ask you, not in a complaining manner, but just being transparent, where's your frustration level and the fact that we've sat here and tried to do everything correctly, not just for PC purposes and to appease people on Twitter who are like, you have to do it and abide by this if you're going to open it. I'm not going to go, blah, blah, but actually taking into consideration the safety of others with coming back very, very slowly, but not getting realistically not getting rewarded for it.
I mean, I didn't really do it for a reward, so I'm not really frustrated at that. And
okay,
a big part of where we're at could be people still kind of not feeling comfortable, so I can't really be that mad about the trends either. I'm just saying, as like, I'm trying to survive and do these things and experiment and try different things. When you experiment and it looks like it's not going to work out, that is a bummer. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
that is, I don't want a fucking gold star because I wanted to run safe shows. I just wanted to run safe shows. Like, that's, it's not like I'm going on Twitter, like saying, hey, look at me, I'm running these safe shows. Like, we didn't really make that big of a deal about it. Like, I just hate like braggy, clout chasey things. Like, I don't know. I hate that. Like, I hate when people donate to a charity and then they're like, look at me, I donated to a charity. Like, I think that defeats the purpose of being charitable, right? Like, that's just not who I am. I think it's very easy to use all these things as marketing tools, but it just doesn't feel like clean to me, I guess. Like, I don't know, like, I have too much pride or whatever to like shortcut anything for like a little bit of, publicity, I guess, which is probably the wrong mindset to have as a promoter. But, I just can't do it. Like, I don't know. I just can't do it. Like, I don't want to take over the world either. I just want to have shows that are good, that people watch, that we sell a couple hundred tickets to, and everyone gets paid, and then we could do it again, in a few weeks, like, those are ultimately my goals and aspirations as far as independent wrestling goes at this point for AIW. I want to help, grow people coming out of our school and develop new guys and, bring in some people, that I was a fan of and do meet and greets and, hang out, have a good time with all the boys, and then go to work on Monday. That's my goal. But like when it's like looking like, hey, this one isn't going to cover, it's like a bet, you do the over or under, or, whatever, however you bet on football. This is where we need the Duke to talk about betting, but like, and gambling, but it's really like, we've been betting and betting and betting and betting and like letting it all ride. And at the end of the day, one way or another, it's been, working out. Sometimes it's closer than other times, and sometimes they're more successful than other times. But like for the first time in a while, as it stands so close to show day, it's looking like this bet is not going to cover on Friday. Mm-hmm. And it's, I don't want to say it's depressing, but it's like, it's a reality check. And then, you start, me, I'm a fucking insane, like pre-planner. So then I start looking like, okay, let me look at the other numbers. Okay. Akron, also not selling well. Winchester, only 100 tickets available, not selling well at all. And I'm just like, okay, like things are like, it doesn't look like it's just this show. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
When you put on a super reduced ticket, and it's like a cheaper ticket, and that's like sold, I don't know, like 25 tickets out of 100, like it's worrisome. So, I'm looking at all the numbers, and I'm like, okay, so Friday, let's say Friday's bet doesn't go. The Winchester, that could be adjusted to be, like a reduced talent, I guess, budget to where we can make it work. Okay, that's all right. But okay, Akron. All right, we have Matt Cardona booked.
Yeah, Broski's
among
coming.
others. And it's like, okay, like, say if that one doesn't cover, like this Friday doesn't cover, now you're in a little bit of trouble, and like then we have a big gap off, which could be beneficial, could not be beneficial. I don't know. Like, this is just things that go on in my brain. Like, it's just like it's like, I mean, this is just what I consume myself with. So it is it's and so then I start thinking like, hey man, like, is the run finally over? Is it like, if we go bomb, at what point do you just pull the plug and reevaluate it, or go back into a hiatus? You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure,
I don't want to do that, and I'm not like threatening to do that, but I live in, like, I try to live in reality. So, it's like, right now I'm just hoping for the best, but as things are looking, it is not looking good for the next 3 shows, to where, who knows?
Yeah. Well, let's turn the page a bit here, and let's try to get you looking forward to the show.
I'm looking forward to, forward to the show. I know it's going to be a good show. I'm just saying, in business mode brain, it's
sure.
just, there's a lot of factors to deal with, like, than putting on a good show. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, absolutely.
I think the show is going to be phenomenal. Like, as far as in-ring goes, maybe one of our better lineups that we've ever put together. I'm very excited for, how things have lined up for this show. But, there's the promoter, like, business have to fucking pay everybody, like, part of that goes into the show, which, I'll be able to pay everybody. We have money left over from 2 weeks ago, but it's like, once you wipe that out, then it's just like, okay, like,
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, I'm looking like down the road here, and it's just like, okay, at what point am I going to John Thorne's personal bank account again? Like, because
Right.
that's been a long time. So it's kind of like a harsh reality check to like be like, I never thought that we were ever going to even be considering this day again.
What? Let me ask you this: give me like 3 matches that really stand out to you as you look at this lineup of what we've got going on here.
I mean, I could, pretty much the whole card really stands out to me.
Yeah.
There's, I could, come up with a million reasons for every match, as far as, stands out, PME versus Rip City, I think will be phenomenal. They've done a lot of work on smaller shows throughout the area. They have really good chemistry. Mm-hmm. I think that one could surprise a lot of people. Obviously the 4-way with Chase, M-Dog, Alexane, and Gringo. I mean, that one has all of the ingredients to fucking be a match of the year, as does, like Anthony Green, Lee Moriarty. Matt Justice and Derek is, something that very much excites me. I think that there's a lot of, Matt Justice is kind of in a weird position to where he carried the torch of the company for so long, mm-hmm. and he's just like this established pillar at this point. But, Derek is really starting to turn heads and finally come into his own after years and years and years of, throwing things at the wall. I think he's finally, found the presentation overall that works for him. So, I think this could be a breakout moment for him. Kaplan versus Rhino. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen? I literally booked that last night at like 10 p.m. I was a little behind on finishing this card, and I like legit inquired, and I don't want this to be like a big thing, but I did legit inquire to try to get Minoru Suzuki versus Kaplan like a few weeks ago. And like it was, like negotiations were like, I don't know if they thought I was serious because it was like 2 weeks notice. And then, we never really got too far. And then we started talking about other dates. And then I tried, it was almost Paul London versus Kaplan. It was almost a few different people versus Kaplan on Friday, and things just were not lining up. And then I talked to Too Cold Scorpio. It was almost Too Cold Scorpio versus Kaplan. I'm giving away all these fucking banger future Kaplan matches that I tried to work on. And, things just weren't lining up. And I texted Rhino, and he called me, and, we worked something out, and he was just like, if he wants to do a hardcore match, I'll do a hardcore match, if you can get us some weapons. So I was like, perfect. Perfect. Because, you never know how those guys are even going to want to, approach doing things with weapons once they're at that, that certain level of, fame or notoriety or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, I'm very much looking forward to a lot of things on this show, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. It's great. I think everybody should be. And,
I still need to find an opponent for Tom Lawler, though. I'll tell you that. He is booked on Friday. He's supposed to wrestle Mr. Brickster. Mr. Brickster found out he had a singles match against Tom Lawler, and I don't know, he called off on Friday. So,
as I look at this card, the one thing that I feel AIW has always done well, and this card is really a shining example of that, is rewarding people for various reasons and putting them in positions. So I say that, and I mean, like, Derek has now finally come into his own. Bam, Derek, here you go. 2 shows in a row, essentially marquee matches. Danhausen was the headliner, so to speak, of that last show. Derek, you're with him. Here you are, like you just said, John. Matt Justice has been a pillar of AIW for some time now, carrying the torch. Derek, here you go. This guy is the measuring stick. That's who Matt Justice is. There you are. Lee Moriarty is a guy that was coming around AIW, and he has obviously made such a name for himself on the independents since he first started coming to AIW, but he still comes and he still gives us every single thing that he has. You get a Lee Moriarty match at AIW and is still top-notch Lee Moriarty. He doesn't take days off. That's just not who he is. So here you are, Lee. Here's a guy just cut from 205 Live, NXT, whatever you want to say, Anthony Green. This is a marquee matchup. Lee Moriarty, getting rewarded with it. Kaplan, sweetheart of a person, has been around, has been unbelievable to AIW in so many ways. I don't know if people can understand that, but he's really come back within this whole year and had this resurgence and taken it so seriously and worked on his body and lost nearly 100 pounds, folks, which is insane. Kaplan, here's your reward, right? He has never, to my knowledge, I can't pinpoint a time when Kaplan was really in the ring with someone that is of like a pro wrestling legend status. Rhino being an ECW legend and was in WWE. As recent as 3 years ago. So you know what I mean? Like that's what this is. Chase Oliver, hey man, you've been doing great coming back. This is a huge marquee match for Chase Oliver. You're healthy. You've been crushing it since you've been back. You're getting Matt Cross, Alex Zane, and Gringo Loco. So,
I've said it a million times, but like I stand by it. I think it is so easy to book hot indie talent versus hot indie talent and have people care about it. I think it is much more difficult to take obscure wrestling student or whoever, unknown local guy, and book them against hot indie talent and make people care about obscure local wrestling student guy. You know what I mean? Guy or girl. I think that there is so much more meat on the bone when you go that way as far as development and future as opposed to current money. And I understand that I've just been complaining about how these shows aren't making money, but I just think there's just so much more long term, and I do always, ride or die by the AIW school, because if we didn't have the school, we would have been out of business 5 years ago. And they earn it. They do things. They deserve it. So it's really hard for me to juggle doing what's right by the school versus what's right by the bank balance. You know what I mean? Like it's a tough balance, but I ultimately always ride with the school for better or worse, or the talent development. Because there was a time when Johnny Gargano was just local guy, and we booked him against Tyler Black. And there's hundreds of stories like that, and we don't always get the credit or recognition, and that's fine. I don't care. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Like, you can't pay, your rent on fucking Twitter clout or whatever, like I don't care about the recognition. I just think that, there's so much more for the company to always be growing and moving forward when you're working with, talent that isn't quite there yet, but will get there eventually, and hey, I know that there's a lot of favors that I could eventually call in for a lot of people we did that for. I haven't done it yet. I don't know when I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'll ever do it because I don't really like, I don't really like doing that. Once they've evolved and moved on, I just like being a little, part of the story.
Yeah.
But, there's also some equity in having those relationships, and like,
Yeah.
There are things that, you can do and, eventually. And I just think that, it's just a really easy business plan to go this guy versus this guy that is great versus this guy that is great. And people go, wow, that was great. I don't think that there is any skill in that whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's fair. Again, this is something that AIW has done well for a very long time. And if you're listening to this because somebody recommended that you listen to this or get invested in AIW, go back and watch it, and it'll speak for itself. Even if you just go back and look for the matchups, just to see the matchups. You go to AIWrestling.com and you look at past shows, and you will see lineups that will blow your mind, and based upon where people are right now. So this, I've said it multiple times on this show. These are those wrestling matches that a few years from now, you're going to be able to look back at and be like, oh shit, they did this there? Wow, that's crazy. Get on board. Watch it now. Find out who these people are now. There's so much fun in watching that,
And hey, maybe you're listening to this and you think I'm a complete fucking idiot complainer. I get that too. It's just, I just, I'm just talking. I'm just talking today. Sometimes I think, man, should I have even said that? But here we are.
Well, if you have to entice somebody with one sentence here, John Thorne, let's wrap it up with this. You're going to try to sell this show one sentence. How do you get them?
How do we get them? Come to AIW or I'm going to close it.
There you go,
Friday.
folks.
Live.
Come to AIW this
TV.
Friday, September 10th.
If you see me come through the curtain, if you see me come through the curtain, it's bad news. This Friday night.
It's not going to be a 99 problem surprise. John Thorne has a wrestling match. It's going to
be Leave the Memories Alone is going to play, and I'm going to say, all right, guys, that's it. See, thanks for coming.
There you go. If you can't make it, stream it. Tell your friends to stream it.
No, I'll at least write it out till December 18th. That's the last date. That's the last date that's booked.
Well, we've done this many times before. Farewell, potentially AIW. And I laugh every time because I just feel like, it's not true. But one time it's not going to be very funny. So
I don't think we're going to get to that point, but you never know. I don't know. It just, I feel like this podcast has been an emotional roller coaster.
Why not? Folks, join us this Friday at the Odeon, live from downtown Cleveland. Bell time 7:30 p.m. Also, if you can't be there, stream it on IWTV. Again, it's $9.99, under $10. Watch it. And if you can't watch it live, which is the preference, watch it right after, so that we still get those numbers up for us. Help us out there. And,
or buy a ticket and then stream it on your phone in your pocket from the crowd.
There you go. Do that too.
Double dip. I'm trying to double dip on Friday because we got a lot of ground to make up.
For AIW owner John Thorne, my name's Steve Guy. If we don't see you this weekend at the Odeon or at the dive bar after, shout out to the dive bar.
I will say this. You have to fucking advertise the after party a little bit during the show because I feel like not a lot of people went because we forgot to really plug it.
Yeah, we didn't do a good job plugging it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, although we still had a pretty decent turnout. But anyway, join us at all those places, and if we don't see you there, we'll talk to you next week right here on The Card Is Going to Change.